We're going to do a bit of a mental health exercise now, and we have licensed and practiced doctor of nurse practitioner here in our midst, and that was in the person of Sister Rose Ojo. She's a member of our church here in Harrisburg, and she's been such a blessing unto us. We went to carry her all the way from Massachusetts, and we were able to bring her here. So thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Mental health is something I really enjoy doing and something that is very, very near and dear to my heart. I was going to do a presentation for everyone, but I feel like that's too much. You'll be reading it. So instead, I want it to be more conversational. I want us to talk about it because I feel like our communities don't talk too much about mental health. But it's such a big part of our life. It affects our physical life, finances that we just talked about, home ownership. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper about all of that and just see how mental health affects all parts of our lives. Like Kwame said, my name is Rose. I am a psychiatric nurse practitioner, licensed in Pennsylvania and Massachusetts, because I used to live there. My job allows me to diagnose people, prescribe medications, and do just a tiny bit of therapy. Not a huge fan of doing therapy. I feel like it's very, very extensive, and you need someone who's actually licensed, like a psychologist or a therapist, to do that for you. So I tend to refer out for that, but I love doing medication management. But sometimes you need both, and sometimes you need one. So I try to help as much as possible to direct people to what I think would be best. And as much as I love prescribing medications, it's not always the best for everyone. You know, some people need therapy, counseling, so it's just based on what you need, when you need it, and how I can really support you. So the title of my presentation is called Mental Health is Part of Life, because we all go through life. We all go through stressful situations, but when does it become too much? When does it become a time for you to seek help, to ask someone for counsel, to go to a specialist, or to go to your pastor or a close friend or a family member to say, hey, I'm going through XYZ, I need a little bit more support this time. So that's what we're talking about. So my first question for everyone is, when you hear the word mental health, what comes to mind? So we can shout it out, raise our hands. We're not in class, so it's okay. When you hear mental health, what do you think about? Sir? Madness, okay. Okay. Anyone else besides madness? Anything. When you think about mental health, what comes to your mind? Emotions, yes. Mental health, madness, emotions, well-being. What else? Huh? Depression, yes. What else? Therapy, anxiety, fear, stress, mortgage. How am I going to make my mortgage? How am I going to feed my kids? What am I going to cook? All the things that cause you a little bit of stress, cause you to be more sad than usual, cause you to be more anxious than you normally would. All of those things are part of our mental health, right? So the CDC actually defines mental health as a state of emotional, psychological, and social well-being that enables an individual to cope with life's stresses, enables someone to realize their abilities, to learn and to work well, and to contribute to their community. And we are a community. However, when you're unable to realize that ability, you're unable to cope with just regular everyday life stresses anymore, that's when we start moving from just like mental health to mental illness or a mental diagnosis, right? And I think a lot of times we don't realize that our mental health is just as important as our physical health, right? We all go for a physical checkup, correct? Or we're supposed to, right? Every year, once a year, we're supposed to go see our doctors, get a proper physical checkup, and they'll tell you you're doing great, keep it up, your weight's healthy, your BMI is great, or you need to cut down on the beef and the rice, your cholesterol's high, you're close to being diabetic. So all those little things. It's pretty much the same with mental health, right? If you're not taking care of yourself, you're not doing the things you're supposed to do, you're not making sure like your anxiety is at a good space. And if you're not making sure that that sadness that you're having sometimes is something you can actually control, it can go to a point where we don't really like to talk about too much. It can get to a point where you start having these feelings of, do I want to be here anymore? Is life worth living anymore? Am I okay? And that's the place we don't want anyone to get to. So that's why we try to talk a lot about mental health and let you realize that it's just like your physical health. It's going to affect every part of your life. If you're stressed or really sad, is it easy for you to get up and go to work the next day? No, it's harder. It's you just want to stay in bed instead, watch TV all day, or just lay in darkness because you're that sad, right? If you are depressed or anxious, do you want to play with your kids or talk to your spouse or your friends? No, it's so much harder because you want to deal with it all by yourself. You want to figure out what's going on. But it's harder to do that alone sometimes. And because of that, we also can push our loved ones away from us when we get to that space. And we don't want to get to that space. So again, that's why this is really important that we talk about it and we understand that it's not something shameful. It's not something scary. It's something we all go through because we are living on this earth. We all have jobs that can be stressful. We all have family members that can be stressful, but that's okay. We live in a stressful environment all the time, but we need to make sure we can handle all the stress that's coming our way in one way or another. Who here, and just raise your hand, you don't have to say anything. Who here has ever been stressed about anything? I want to see the hands. Who's been stressed before? Okay, who's ever felt anxious about an exam, money, anything? Thank you. Who's ever had sleepless nights? Thank you. Who felt like they were sleeping too much and it was a little bit abnormal for them? Yes. What about trouble focusing at work or at school? Okay, you notice multiple people raised up their hands for the different things I mentioned. That's because we all go through these things. But we like to think no one else is going through it, that it's just us. And it's not just us. There are other people going through all these things. And so, again, don't be shy to ask for help. Don't be shy to look for resources that can support you. Don't be shy to talk to your friends, your spouses, your family members, your pastors, leaders, community people, to just let them know this is how I'm feeling. Sometimes you just need to get it out. A lot of times we just need to vent and not put everything in our heads. The more you let things fester in your head, the more you keep thinking about it. You think you're sad, oh, I'm sad about this. And then more things just keep coming up and you're like, oh, this makes me sad too. This makes me sad too. Next thing you know, you have 100 things that make you sad when if you had talked about that first thing and dealt with it properly, things could have gotten better. You could have gotten the resources you need to deal with that problem and continue to deal with your problems the proper way. But many of us, we don't deal with it the proper way. We hide it, we keep it hidden in our hearts, in our minds, we let it fester, and that's where negative thoughts start slowly coming in. And before we know it, those negative thoughts become really, really bad thoughts that we don't want to talk about. But I hope that we'll never get there because we will learn to look for resources and support system. So I'm hoping this talk will help us to get to that point. Like I said, mental health is not just for one person, it is for all of us because we all have responsibilities, we all have expectations, but we don't always meet those expectations. And so things happen, we get sad, and it's normal to feel sad. We were made human beings to have emotions and have feelings. Nothing is wrong with that. So please don't ever feel like I am alone, or I can't do this anymore, or no one else is feeling the way I feel. I can almost guarantee you there's someone else feeling the same way you're feeling. You may just not know it because you're not talking about it. And I can promise you they're not talking about it. And so we're all living in a bubble by ourselves, thinking only us live in this planet with only our own problem. And that's not always true. So please, if you're going through anything, please seek out help. Nothing is wrong with that. Like I said, it's like when you have a bad cough or you're sneezing too much at night, you will go to urgent care, correct? You will call your primary care doctor. You will go to the hospital if it's too much. It's literally the exact same thing. You're feeling sadder than usual, more anxious than usual, seek out help. It's not a crime, it's not a sin. I promise you it's not a sin. It is perfectly fine to seek out help when you're not doing well. So 3 things I want us to remember, and I'm going to ask again later. It's duration, disruption, distress. Can we say that together? Duration, disruption, distress. One more time. Duration, disruption, distress. Perfect. So duration, when you're thinking about mental health, is it lasting too long for me? Is my sadness lasting longer than it should? Right? So for us, we like to think, have you been feeling this sadness for a whole week instead of a day or 2 or 3 days? If it's going on a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a whole month, please get checked out. Talk to someone, because it is not normal to be sad about the same thing for a whole month. At that point, I can almost guarantee you, your life is changing a little bit. You may not notice it, but it's slowly changing. And friends and families may not notice. They may just, oh, he's overworked, he's tired, he's stressed. But just look at, how long is my sadness lasting for? What about the anxiety? What about the stress? How long are these things lasting for? So always think about the duration. What's the second one I said? Do you remember? Disruption. Thank you. How is it affecting your life, right? Is it disrupting your life, right? So let's say it's lasting for 3 weeks at this point, and you're severely sad about something, whatever it is. Everyone goes through different things. It's disrupting your life at this point, to the point where you're not able to get up to go to work, or even if you are going to work, you're not as efficient anymore. You're not finishing your work on time. Before you go to work 9 to 5, you are clocked out at exactly 4:59. You've actually done everything way before you're supposed to. You're happy, you're going home, you're not screaming at the drivers or anything. You are just happy. But 3 weeks has gone by, you're really sad about God knows what. You're going to work late, or even if you go early, you're still not finishing your work early. You're lashing out at coworkers, family members, kids, parents, spouses. It's disrupting your life at this point. You may not notice it. You may think it's okay, or, oh, it was just a one-time thing. Your spouse or kids may not say anything yet, because everybody's on eggshells with you as well. But ask yourself, is it disrupting my life, right? And it may not even be those outward things. It's, how's your sleep? Are you sleeping longer than you normally would? Are you not sleeping at all? I've met people who are like, I can't even close my eyes no matter how much I try. I take melatonin, I take Benadryl, I take Tylenol PM, and I still can't sleep. Because those thoughts are just in your head. You may not even realize it, but something is keeping you up at night. You're sleeping 2 hours instead of regular 8 hours. You may be having nightmares and not even realize it. You may not be eating as much anymore, or you may be eating too much and not realize that you're gaining weight. And then 2 months later, you put on your favorite dress or your favorite pants, and they don't fit anymore. And that's when you start thinking, oh, I just gained a little bit of weight. But you have to think about, how did all of this start? What happened? How did I get here? So always ask yourself, how is this affecting my life? Is my life still the same? And mental health, like I said, does not just affect you, it affects everyone around you as well. How are my kids doing? If you have kids, what about my spouse, my parents, my family, my church, my responsibilities? Am I still doing them? A lot of people tend to either start overworking themselves to compensate for how they're feeling, or they just stop completely. And we just think, oh, they're tired, they need more rest. But there's so much more going on that we don't talk about, or we don't see, or we refuse to see, because we're so used to dealing with things ourselves. So please always try to ask yourself, how is this disrupting my life? I think it's okay every 3 months to do like a self-assessment, to ask, how am I doing mentally? Am I okay? Am I paying my bills on time? How am I interacting with loved ones? How am I interacting in my community, in my church? How am I actually doing, so I can make sure that I am okay? Because I think a lot of times, again, we live in a society where we work so much a lot of times, right? But we have to be okay before we can take care of other people. I don't think we can fill someone else's cup if our cup is empty. So we have to make sure mentally we're okay, physically we're okay, because at some point it will get to a point of no return. And that sounds really bad, but I want us to realize that it can get to that point for some people where it's like they just refuse to get up. They refuse to do things anymore because things have gotten that bad for them. But again, the goal is for us not to get to that point, but to seek out help before it gets to that point, to do a routine self-assessment to see how are we actually doing, so we can properly support ourselves, support others around us. That way we can all be okay, mentally and physically. And I hope, again, this talk helps us to get there. All right, the last part is, what was the third one that I said? Distress. How are you feeling with it, right? It should be a bit distressing for you. It should feel overwhelming for you, right? How does it make you feel? What are you feeling from all of that? Does your mind get a break from how you're feeling, whether it's the anxiety or the depression or whatever the situation may be? Does your mind get a break from it? Or are you constantly in this state of like fight or flight? Are you constantly feeling stuck, overthinking about things? Where is your mind at that point? So let's always remember those three things. What were the three things again? Duration. Thank you. If that's what you remember from today, I am very happy. um, so yeah, like I said, things to really, really focus on when you're trying to figure out how am I doing. And these are things other people may not tell you, but you will know this about yourself. How am I sleeping? Is it still the same? Am I sleeping my regular 6 to 8 hours? And our sleep time is different for everyone. I know people who can sleep for 12 hours and I tell them they're lucky. I can't sleep for more than 6 hours at a time. Once I'm up, and that's it. That's my normal, right? My doctor may not think it's normal, but that's how I've always been since I was a kid. For some people, 10 hours, 12 hours, that's their normal, right? So what is your norm? What works for you? Has that changed for you? Is it worse? Is it better? And when I say better, are you sleeping 12, 14, 16 hours a day because you're skipping work, you're not eating, you're overwhelmed, you're tired? Or are you sleeping 2, 3, 4 hours because you're overthinking, you're overcompensating for everything in life, and you just want to keep going so you don't have to think and deal with your problems, right? So we have to really consider all those things. And the other part that I said was, how's your appetite? Are you eating normally? If you normally eat 3 times a day, has that changed? Are you still eating 3 times a day, or is it when I remember I'll eat? Even if I'm hungry, I don't really care because I don't really know if I want to be here anymore, or I don't care to cook. I don't have the energy to cook. I don't want to get up to cook. I know I'm hungry, but I don't want to do anything to deal with that appetite issue, right? Or am I eating because I am overwhelmed? Or am I overeating because I am stressed? Or am I so depressed that I don't know what else to do, so I'm going to eat? Or have I chosen food as a coping mechanism? Because a lot of us do that because we don't know what else to do. So eating, how's the appetite? Think about all those things. And again, these are signs that others may not see, but you will see them. How's your energy? When you wake up in the morning, do you still feel energized? Or are you dragging your feet to go to work? Are you dragging your feet to say hello to your kids or your spouse or to talk to anyone? When people ask you how you're doing, do you just like shrug your shoulders and just keep going? Are you still happy to see people? How is your energy within yourself and with others? Always ask yourself those questions. And also, how are you focusing? If you're anxious, it's going to be very difficult for you to focus. If you are sad and depressed and overthinking about life all the time, it's also difficult for you to focus because you are focused on how am I feeling? You're focused on your own feelings at that point and nothing else. So again, those are the 4 signs. Do you remember what they are? Sleep, appetite, energy, and focus. So like always ask yourself those questions. How am I doing in those 3 areas? And that should also help you to gauge where you are mentally. Like I said, mental health is for everyone, but we don't want it to get to a point where it becomes, oh, you have a mental illness or you have a mental health disorder. And even if it gets to that point, again, that is not a sin. It's not a crime. We're all human beings. We're all allowed to be anxious at times. We're all allowed to be stressed, to have depression. It's a matter of how do I deal with it if and when it comes, right? We don't run away from it. We deal with it instead. We seek out support and we, deal with it head on instead of trying to hide from it. You don't need to wait till things are bad. If there's even a part of you that feels like, I'm not really sure how I feel, you can call your primary care doctor and just let them know, like, hey, I've been feeling this way. Can we talk about it? Primary care doctors can do screenings for you to see, are you actually depressed, or is it just a little bit of sadness, or are you just overwhelmed and stressed about things, right? A lot of times we don't think too much about why things are happening. For some people, it could be, I just had a new job change, or I have a new boss and they're stressing me out more than usual. And that could be where your overwhelmness is coming from. So a lot of times your primary care doctor will walk you through these questions to see where there are triggers that caused it versus, was there a chemical imbalance in your brain instead? So a lot of times it's good to talk to a professional and just ask them, what do you think is going on? Just so they can sort of support you and lead you. And the one thing I want us to remember is whatever they say, you don't have to buy it, right? You're just there to seek out. So ask them questions. If they say, oh, I think you have depression, you can say, no, I don't think so. Let's talk more about it. You don't have to accept whatever diagnosis they give you if you feel like it's not the right thing, right? But have the conversation with them. And if they're a good provider, they will listen to you and ask you all the right questions. Did something change recently in your life, right? What is new? Walk me through, when did this start? That way they can sort of pinpoint, okay, when did you notice that your sleep changed when you had a new baby, or your parents started living with you, or you got a new boss? A lot of times there are triggers in our lives. We may just not notice it because we're always just on the move, going and going. So nothing wrong with going to your primary care doctor or urgent care to ask for a little support. Like I said, you don't have to wait until it's bad or until, those negative thoughts start creeping in. So please, if you ever need help, go ask for help. And for I know this is a church event, so I have to say this. Taking care of your mental health does not mean you have a lack of faith. What did I say? Thank you. Does not mean you have lack of faith, right? You feel comfortable going to your primary care doctors. For our mothers here, you felt comfortable going to your OBGYN to deliver your babies, correct? You should also feel comfortable knowing that the God that created those doctors also created mental health professionals, right? You go to them just to ask questions. Say, hey, this is a problem I think I have. How can you help me? That's literally all it is. It's not saying God does not exist. I mean, wasn't there someone in the Bible who had, I'm just going to say mental health problems, yes or no? Who in the Bible? Who? I'm hearing Saul. Who else? Elijah, thank you. He was like ready to be done. And what happened with Judas? Suicide, yes. So like mental health problems does exist. And there's nothing wrong with seeking help when we know those things are there. Okay, so taking care of your mental health does not mean you have a lack of faith. It's saying, God, you have provided these, human providers for me. Please direct me to the right one. You can literally ask God with that prayer, please direct me to the right therapist, the right psychiatrist, the right nurse practitioner, the right medical doctor, or whoever it is that you think will help me best. It does not mean you have a lack of faith, right? It just means sometimes you just want a one-to-one person. It could also be, God, how do I talk to my pastor about this problem so they can also support me? Because your pastors are also there to counsel you, correct? Yes. So we have all these people in our lives. Going to them or asking them for support does not mean we have lack of faith. It simply means we're using the resources that God has placed in our lives to work, okay? So please feel free to seek out help from those around us, because mental health affects every one of us every single day, just in different ways and to different extents. So please, please, please don't ever feel like I can't seek out support, or I'm too shy, or someone's going to find out. Doesn't matter who finds out. This is your life. Your life is precious. God loves you. Your friends and loved ones, they love you. They want you to be okay. So there is nothing wrong with asking for help when you need it. And like I said, mental health affects every aspect of our lives, whether we see it or not. We just talked about the homeownership, correct? Yes. How easy do you think it would be for you to feel confident and comfortable to go ask for mortgage if you are up for 24 hours without sleep, you're not thinking properly, you just go and say, hey, can I please get a $500,000 mortgage for a house that I want to buy down the street? Do you think you'd be actually clear-minded to think about the percent that they'll give you and the paperwork that they'll give you? Like, do you think you'll actually be okay to read all this paperwork when you haven't slept for 24 to 48 hours? No. Your mind is going to be tired and boggled down. So we need to be mentally clear to do a lot of things in life. You can't just say, I want a mortgage if you haven't thought about it properly, if you're not sleeping well. If you're not thinking of the whole process, it's going to be very difficult. And even if you do get approved, who knows if you're going to be able to pay it off, right? You have to be able to be okay to go to work every day, make money, and keep it up to be able to pay your mortgage or other bills that you have. Again, mental clarity is such a huge part of our life. We just need to think more about it and be more proactive about it. You know, finance is such a big part of our lives. It's hard to say, you know, if someone tells you what's 30 times 30, if you're not mentally clear, can you actually do that multiplication? No, it's going to be hard. So again, mental clarity, we need to be mentally well to do a lot of the things that we want to do. You need discipline to be able to keep up with your finances, to pay your bills on time, to take care of your kids, to pay your mortgage, to do so many things. But if you are struggling to stay awake, struggling to, you know, keep up with your appetite, you have low energy, poor energy, it's going to be very difficult to do a lot of those things. And I know later we're talking about business. Who here has a business or plans or wants to start a business? Nobody? Okay, see a few hands. More hands. Okay, we have like business people in the house. Going to be very hard to start a business and to keep it up if you are not mentally clear on what's going on, right? If you are struggling to get up every day, you are anxious about every decision you make, it's going to be very, very, very difficult to actually, even if you get the business started, it's going to be difficult for you to keep it going, right? So we all want to make sure that mentally we are doing okay. Mental health is such a huge foundation for us. If the mind is not well, it is very, very hard for everything else to kind of build up and to improve. So again, mental health, please take care of your mental health no matter what. And yeah, I'm just going to read a couple of Bible verses just to drive this home a little bit. Proverbs 4 verse 23 talks about, like, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. What are you thinking about? What's going on in your mind? What's going on in your brain, right? You need to make sure you have a clear mind, clear heart, and like it's doing well. If it's cluttered with negative things because you're depressed, you're sad, you're anxious about life, it's going to be very hard for you to do many things. And I mean, even the Bible says, 1 Peter 5:7, cast all your anxiety onto him because he cares for you, right? So pray about things. Seek out help when you need it. Like I said, your pastors are there. You have mental health professionals. Seek them out while also praying for God to direct you and to help you. There's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with seeking out help when you need it. And I just to sort of make this more clear of how many people are actually dealing with mental health. There's 1 in 5 adults experience a mental illness every year. That's about 59 million people. 59 million people. That's a lot of people, right? So we want to make sure that we are doing good mentally, right? 1 in 20 experience more serious conditions. So that could be, you know, the suicidal thoughts that comes up, right? Or severe depression, or for some people, bipolar, schizophrenia. I mean, some things are unavoidable because they're genetics, but there are some things that we ourselves can avoid and make sure we don't get into it. So please, please, please make sure you are taking care of yourself, because like I said, 1 in 5 adults get diagnosed with depression at some point, and for some of them it is severe depression, not just mild depression because they're sad because of what happened, but for some of them it does become lifelong. So please make sure you're taking care of yourself. And just to make this even a bit stronger, it's not just adults. A lot of teens, youths are being affected as well. And it's still the same, about 1 in 5 youths experience a mental health disorder in their entire life. And if it's not dealt with early on, it does carry with them into adulthood, and that's harder. So if you see a teen, a youth, your own child, someone in church or in the community, they look like they're struggling, it's a good time to check in with them and keep checking in with them. And it's not about being invasive or, you know, going into their privacy. It's simply just say, hey, I just want to check up on you. How are you doing? Right? And it's not please forgive me. It's not about how's your Christian life, right? Please don't ask them that. If you see that they're really sad, please don't ask them, how often are you praying? Did you read your Bible today? And a lot of times, I can almost guarantee you many of them are doing that. But for one reason or another, they're still struggling. And again, this is because we live in a society that just brings on problems every single day. And for some of them, their resilience is not the same as yours. So we're not to judge people based on our own resilience because everyone deals with things differently. So please check in with the youths, the children, the young adults in your church, in your community, and just ask them, how are you doing? How's life? How's work? How's school? How's your immigration status, right? Ask them those questions just to see how they're doing because I can, again, almost guarantee you they're all going through one thing or another, and it may not be, clinical depression, but they may be sad about something, right? And that still affects their mental health in a lot of ways that they may be going home sad every day and we may not know. They may come to church and look happy. They may go to school and look happy. I've met people who pretend to be happy because they've learned to pretend. That's just how they've lived their life. But let's do our best to check in on one another, especially the young ones, because like I said, as they get older, it does stay with them and it gets worse and worse because they're used to living in this pattern of life, and so it's harder to go through. So please just check up on our people. And before I round up, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm out of time. Just ways to improve your mental health: regular exercise, sleep well, have a routine time for sleep, balanced diet. Like I said, working out, seeking help when you need it, setting boundaries with people around you goes a long way as well because sometimes that's where our stress is coming from. Saying no, avoid overworking, take time off work if you need to and rest. That's not a sin. It's perfectly fine. And please seek out help when you need it. 988 is there. That is like the national number for crisis if you need it. So 988, if you ever need it, please call. There are online groups and support groups if you need it. So please seek help if you ever need it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.